At Gamescom, the developers were finally supposed to give us a proper look at Minecraft Dungeons 2 gameplay, but when they reached the new boss, the game just broke, right in the middle of the livestream. And that's especially frustrating because everything else looks like a true sequel, an open world, a new dimension, and completely reworked gear and enchantment systems. So what are we looking at here? Is Minecraft Dungeons 2 a sequel that fixes the biggest problems with the original, or is it just the first part made bigger and slicker? I went through the entire presentation frame by frame, compared the new mechanics to the original, and found several details that developers didn't mention for some reason. Of course, I also explained how to get the new capes from Minecraft Dungeons for Java Minecraft. And we should start with the biggest mystery of the sequel, the new dimension called the Sift. Naturally, everyone wants to know more about the new dimension. Overall, we don't know that much about it yet. It's a completely new and unique dimension created specifically for the Minecraft Dungeon 2. It's closely connected to Souls, Skulk, and Ancient Cities. Is it dangerous? Is it trying to break into the overworld? I'll answer that when we get to the game's story, because some people might consider it a spoiler. Either way, based on the gameplay trailers and what they showed at Gamescom, we can tell that it's a very colorful, almost alien dimension. It's made up of red and orange rocky landscapes, strange green vegetation, a red variety of skulk, and yes, it really is skulk, multicolored pools with visible souls inside them, and several ancient structures. So how do you get there? There are two ways. The first is through the portal in the center of an ancient city. You can open it with note blocks by playing a special melody. This melody can be performed by singers, the native inhabitants of the Sift. Their song doesn't just activate the portal, it can also calm down or temporarily stop a warden. And yes, that mysterious silhouette from the first RG video was a singer. You can spot one in the gameplay footage as well. I'll be honest, its silhouette looked pretty unsettling. But the actual creature looks kind of funny. The second way is the Rift stuff, which belongs to the Grand Illusioner. It can create temporary passages between the Sift and the overworld almost anywhere. And yes, that's exactly what we saw in the separate video titled The Mask is Off. We see the Grand Illusioner walking through a village while none of the villagers pay any attention to him. At the end, he drops his disguise, pulls out the Rift stuff, and opens a portal to the Sift. Poor god got scared by the fireworks. I'll explain who the Grand Illusioner is when we get to the section about the game story. Obviously, a new dimension needs new mobs, and they showed us some of those too. Singers are tall, pale green creature with long fur and horns. They don't speak in language we're familiar with. Instead, they communicate through songs. I have noticed that the Minecraft developers seem to have a bit of hyperfixation on music and melodies. In Minecraft Legends, we control Elise with a lute and different melodies, and now the entire game is once again built around music and notes. Eco Golems are intelligent mechanical creatures created by the singers. They powered by soul blocks, the blocks on their heads. They can speak and they believe their purpose is to help others. This shows that the singer's civilization is far more technologically advanced than the inhabitants of the overworld. Blobs are small glowing creatures that look like chubby blue rabbits. Their appearance in the overworld is one of the first signs that the boundary between the dimension is breaking down. There are also three kinds of sifters: the baby sifter, the tall sifter, and bearded sifter. Then there are nesters and the skulk dancer, which the heroes fight at the end of the trailer. Skulk slashers are fighting alongside it as well, and of course the game will feature plenty of different illagers that players have already forced before, and I'm sure we'll see some new ones too. Now let's move on to the gameplay itself. I didn't go to the Gamescom, but luckily Xbox hosted a livestream with the developers. They cleared up a few things and showed off some of the game's new feature, but there were also a few pretty awkward moments. We'll get to those separately. I'd like to start with the inventory. Yes, we got a quick look at it in the first trailer, but this time things become a little more transparent. As we already know, armor is now split into 4 pieces: a helmet, chestplate, leggings, and boots. In the first game, armor came as one complete set. When you select a specific piece of armor, the game opens the inventory directly to the page for that armor piece, which is convenient. In the first game, a complete armor set gave you a unique effects. Now, each individual piece will provide its own effects. For example, one pair of leggings gives you a 25% chance to deflect an incoming projectile and reduces projectile damage by 10%. Remember, effects like this were armor enchantments in the first game. The artifacts surprised me the most. Take the Flaming Quiver, which we already know from the first game. You can clearly see that it now requires soul to activate. We had something similar before, but only certain artifacts needed souls. Those artifacts were usually much more powerful than the ones that didn't. Here, it looks like every artifact will require souls in addition to having a cooldown. And if you think this is just a coincidence, it definitely isn't. Fireworks Arrow and Deathcap Mushroom, two artifacts from the first game, also require souls now. They never did before. Plus, there is a soul icon next to the artifacts. They also showed us Talismans. In the previous video, we only saw them for a couple of seconds. This time, the developers actually explain how they work. Talismans give your hero passive abilities. The longer a player wears a talisman, the stronger it becomes. So based on that, it looks like talismans can be leveled up to improve their effects. They didn't show us that many talismans. There was the Healing Heart, which restores 2% of your health every 5 seconds. The Tasty Bond summons a wolf that fights alongside the player. I'm guessing your reaction right now looks something like this gif. Yes, this is basically the Tasty Bone from the first game. But back then, it was a full artifact. This time, I think the developers moved all pets into the talisman category to make room for more powerful artifacts. Other talismans included the Sigil of Beeswax, which increased the player's health by 20%, the Twig of Dark Oak, which lets you carry 20% more ammo, the Fist of Iron, which increases melee damage by 10%, and finally the Twisted Tooth, which increases the number of souls you collect by 40%. Now let's pay a visit to the Blacksmith. Let me remind you how he worked in the first game. First, you had to rescue him from the Archillager. After that, he unlocked just one upgrade slot. There were 3 slots in total, and you could place weapons, armor, and artifacts in them. Defeating the Archillager on the next difficulty unlocked the other slots. After placing an item into a slot, the player had to successfully complete 3 missions. Only then would the item be upgraded. There was nothing particularly difficult or complicated about it. This time, everything works differently. Of course, I don't know if we'll have to rescue the Blacksmith again. We'll find it out once the game releases. But they did show us how item upgrades work. Now you need both emeralds and a new currency called Echo Shards. Emeralds are used to increase an item's power. But why would you want to increase its power? In the first game, power directly affected an item's stats. Artifacts had shorter cooldowns, armor provided more protection, and so on. In the sequel, if I understood everything correctly, power directly affects the number of effects an item can have. The higher its power, the more effects you can get. By the way, upgrades are now instant. You don't need to complete any missions. Players can also change an item's effects without any trouble, but doing that requires Echo Shards. Strangely enough, the developers didn't demonstrate this, even though they were going to. They changed their minds at the last second. That was weird. You can also upgrade the Blacksmith himself with Echo Shards. As far as I understood, this will unlock more ways to upgrade your items. Now it's time to visit the Enchantsmith. He is also returning from the first game, and his role has been changed quite a bit. Let me remind you how Enchanting worked in the original. You had to rescue this villager too. He could be found near the Archillager's castle. So how did enchantments work? It was pretty simple. Items already drop with a specific set of enchantments available for that weapon or armor. Artifacts couldn't be enchanted. An item only had 3 enchantment slots, but each slot could randomly offer several enchantments. You could only choose one. Enchantment points were used to unlock them. The more powerful the enchantment, the more points it costs. Every enchantment had 3 upgrade levels. So what was the Enchantsmith for? In exchange for gold bars, this villager could replace 1 enchantment. The more attempts you made, the more gold bars it cost. Could you choose the enchantment you wanted? No. The game randomly picked one for you. It was incredibly stupid, and a lot of players complained about this system. The developers listened and completely changed it. The Enchantsmith is no longer a useless NPC in the sequel. You can still only enchant weapons and armor, but now you do it with enchanted books. As far as I understand, players will find these books throughout the entire world, then bring them to Enchantsmith and apply them to the items they want. Enchantments still have 3 upgrade levels, but applying them now requires both enchantment points and Echo Shards. As an example, one of the developers applied the Ender Mines enchantment to the katana. After you land a hit, 2 projectiles appear near the player and explode after a short delay. Unfortunately, nobody explained whether the books are single use or whether finding one unlocks it permanently. But to be fair, I didn't see any numbers next to the books showing how many the player had in their inventory, so I am willing to assume they aren't single use. I should also mention that different items will have their own unique enchantments. For example, you want to be able to apply an armor enchantment to a weapon, it simply won't appear as an option. And of course, the Enchantsmith can only be upgraded too. The higher his level, the more enchantments you'll be able to apply to a single item. So what about the actual gameplay? Overall, it's almost the same as it was in the first game. Come on, it's a dungeon crawler. There is no need to reinvent the wheel, but there are still some differences. For one thing, it's now a fully open world. Instead of separate missions set in different locations like in the first game, we now have one seamless world with individual procedurally generated dungeons. Is there fast travel? Yes. As far as I understand, minecart stations were created specifically for that. Players will discover them while exploring the world and unlock new fast travel points. That's extremely convenient. It gives me a bit of a Hollow Knight vibe. There is also a proper minimap now. Technically, the first game had one, but it was that weird translucent thing that covered the entire screen and got in the way. Now we have a normal minimap that shows both the world and various points of interest. I loved how the developers tactfully pretended not to notice the literal rift in space that also happens to be a portal to the Sift. Unfortunately, they didn't enter it, but there is a chance you can enter it at all, and it's simply showing how this dimension is trying to break into the overworld. But here's something else I noticed. When players destroyed vases and pots, emeralds no longer fly into the stratosphere. They go directly to the players and are divided evenly. In the first game, emeralds would often fly way up into the air, and only about 10% of them seemed to come back down. On top of that, you had to fight your friends over who got them, which obviously wasn't great. Here, everything is split evenly. The same applies to supply chests. When one player opens a chest, food drops for every player immediately. The second player no longer needs to open it separately. Unfortunately, the video quality leaves a lot to be desired. Nobody at Xbox decided to upload this gameplay in high quality, so all we have is recording of the live stream. Here's another interesting detail. In the first game, when a player died, the others could revive them, or heal them basically. It's a standard mechanic, but the revive time was always the same. In the sequel, the more players who help revive a fallen teammate, the faster the revival goes. At one point, the journalist asked the developers what artifact she has equipped. It's called the Creeper Candle. It turns out to be a new artifact. The player places those candles on the ground and they explode after a short delay. That's very strange, considering that the same candles can be seen burning in the background of the cinematic that features the Rift stuff. I don't know if that was intentional or just a mistake, but it looks pretty creepy. This gameplay segment also showed us where the mysterious Echo Shards come from. While exploring the world, players can be attacked by soul-corrupted mobs, and the game will actually warn you when this happens. Visually, they look just like the regular versions of those mobs, except they glow bright blue and releases soul particles. After killing one of these mobs, it looks like every player is supposed to receive Echo Shards. So what exactly is this structure? It belongs to the Supreme Evoker. They didn't show him, of course, but you can see him on the book's cover. Boss was supposed to be waiting for the players at the very top of the building, but something went wrong. This was the awkward moment I mentioned at the beginning. The game literally bugged out during the livestream and failed to spawn the boss, so the developers immediately started talking about the open world instead. I did want to hear more about it, but that didn't happen either. Someone in the control room found a pre-recorded clip of them fighting the new boss, the Copper Monstrosity, so they stopped the conversation and played the boss fight instead. Let's be honest, it's basically the redstone monstrosity with a different texture. Although its attacks are different, it still moves just as slowly, but now it can use electric attacks. After defeating it, every player received Echo Shards, but the main reward was a node block. I think the player's current goal is to collect 8 node blocks, travel to an ancient city and activate the portal to the Sift. Of course, nobody actually told us that, but hey, at least they showed us a nice cinematic. And that was the end of the presentation. Now let's talk about the game's story. The developers haven't really explained it. They seem to be trying to keep it a secret, but there's one problem. An official prequel novel released on September 1st. It's supposed to explain what happened between the events of the first and second games, but somehow Google Books accidentally included the entire book in its preview, allowing some users to discover the whole story. So if you're worried about spoilers, you should probably skip this part of the video. After Arch's defeat, his empire fell apart, but 3 of his former commanders, the Grand Illusioner, the Prime Enchanter, and the Supreme Evoker, found a way into the mysterious dimension known as the Sift. There, they discovered soul blocks that granted their owners immense power, and together they formed the High Council. Their goal was to create a new illager army and conquer the overworld. Meanwhile, a hero named Harlow learns that his friend Liana, who disappeared during the Arch's attack many years ago, is still alive. She was a part of an independent group of illagers led by Lucky, who wanted to stop the High Council and steal their power. So we can assume that the game will feature a natural group of illagers. The heroes manage to steal the rift stuff and one of the soul blocks, but after receiving the block, Lucky becomes obsessed with power and starts taking control of the minds of those around him. In the final, he's killed by a warden. The Grand Illusioner then takes back the stuff and leads the High Council and its army back into the Sift. So by the beginning of the Minecraft Dungeons 2, the High Council is still at large. It controls rift technology, uses souls to empower and corrupt mobs, and is preparing a full-scale invasion. The heroes will have to travel between the overworld and the Sift, stop the council, and restore the disrupted balance of souls. So what does all of this mean? The developers clearly want us to think that the main villain of the sequel is the Twisted Warden, and that the fourth dimension itself is trying to enslave the overworld. It sounds a little like the story of Minecraft Legends, but in reality that isn't the case at all. The illagers are in charge once again, except this time there isn't just one of them, there are three. There isn't much time left until the game's releases. I'm planning to finally finish my video about the complete lore and story of the first game. I think it'll come out before the sequel launches. For now, I recommended watching my video about how I 100%ed Minecraft Dungeons and unlocked every achievement. It's generally a really interesting video. Pre-ordering the game gives you exclusive skins, a cape, and the Twisted Chicken Pet, which we saw in the video. Buying the Deluxe Edition gives you the Ball Pet, another exclusive cape, and several hero skins. Will these capes be available for Java and Bedrock? Well, how can I put this? If you played the first game, you most likely bought the DLC that included this hero cape. At some point, it started coming bundled with the game, but that's not important. This cape will also be available for vanilla Minecraft, but to get it, you'll need to follow a few steps. First, you'll need to at least purchase the first game, as well as this DLC. There's currently a huge discount on the Ultimate Edition on Steam. It's cheaper than the original price of the game without the DLC. Then, on the release day of the second game, you'll need to play through the first game. And once the second one comes out, switch to playing that. The cape will then appear on your account. So yes, to get the cape, you'll need to own both parts of the game. The second cape, the Twisted one, which is given specifically for pre-ordering any edition of the game, can also be obtained for Java and Bedrock. Here, it's even simpler. Just play the second part on the first day of its release, and the cape is yours. Just to clarify, the games must be on the same Microsoft account, otherwise it won't work. What about the cape for purchasing the Deluxe Edition of the game? The article states that it's only available for Minecraft Dungeons 2. The Corrupted Creeper cape, which was available exclusively at Gamescom, isn't currently available online. The article says it will be available a little later. As soon as I have more information, I'll let you know. But there is also another secret cape. What will it look like? What do you get it for? That's not known yet. There's just a placeholder image that looks something like this. But this isn't the final version. I think they'll launch a special Bedrock server before the game's release, where anyone who wants it can get it. Don't worry, I'll let you know when it becomes available. So can we say that Minecraft Dungeons 2 is a failure? For now, no. The presentation itself definitely failed at the most important moment, but judging by what they showed us, the game has become deeper in almost every way. The open world, gear, enchantments, co-op, and a full new dimension. I'm still concerned about the reused bosses and some of the stranger decisions, but now I am more excited for Minecraft Dungeons 2 than worried about it. All that's left is to see how well everything works once the game is actually in our hands. What do you think about the game? Are you going to play it? Share your thoughts in the comments. While you're waiting for the next video, you can check out these ones. They're really interesting too. Subscribe to this channel, leave a like, and hit the bell. We'll heal from each other again, because we continue discovering Minecraft in a whole new way.